Hi, everyone. My name is Chris McMurray,
And I'm Gene.
and he's my husband. And welcome back to another episode of Hope from Grief here on our YouTube channel. We're an open book.
Hey everyone, in this episode, we are going to do something totally different. We recently recorded a conversation with someone who has come into our lives as a result of our book. Chris, tell us how we met this special lady.
We met TZiPi through a friend of a friend. It was actually at our very first book signing for Live, Laugh, Fly, and I was immediately attracted to her spirituality and her positive outlook. And over the last couple years, we've gotten to know each other.
So when we began our YouTube channel, it became clear to both Chris and I that it would be great to have her come on and tell her story.
That's right. So without any further ado, let's get right to the interview. And we hope you enjoy it as much as we did. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Hope from Grief. Today, we have in our very first live interview with this very special woman who has enriched our lives, and I'm sure she's going to enrich yours. So please, everybody, welcome TZiPi Radonski. Hi, TZiPi. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. I'm good.
good.
Hi, Sippy. It's Gene. I'm over in the control room.
Okay, great. Great to be here with the two of you.
Thank you.
Very brave, courageous people.
I don't know about that. A little nuts, maybe, but we're just trying to do it. That's it. So it is exciting because it's our first very live interview. So
Right.
it is exciting. We'll just see how this goes, right? But I have always loved speaking with you. So it's going to be
Thank
good.
you.
It's going to be good. Well,
Yeah.
first thing I would like, if you could share your background information and just tell us a little bit about you and how you your spiritual, how did you grow in your spirituality?
Well, let's say I am still growing.
We all are, absolutely.
Right. And I remember meeting a Lama once and telling him that I'm just a beginner, and he said, "Me too." So I am a beginner. I live here in Beaufort, South Carolina. I'm here because I have family here, and I love the water. I grew up on the water in Massachusetts many, many years ago. And so I have one daughter that lives here, and her family is here. So that makes it lovely. And I have community. We're meeting people like you.
That's
a part of my community. So in terms of my spirituality, or I like to think of spirituality as just beyond the physical.
Yes.
What I feel or what I sense, what my intuition is saying to me, what I hear in my heart or maybe in my ears. That's, to me, that's all part of that. And part of the beginning for me when you asked me some of those questions was, I remember being interested in reincarnation when I was, in elementary school or middle school. I thought that's wild. And then right around the time I was studying to be an occupational therapist, I met a student physician at the Medical College of Georgia, and he had just had some experiences that we call now near-death experiences. Of people who had left their body during a surgery and could tell you everything that was said. So those things were really interesting to me. And then non-dual thinking, that we're all connected. I remember studying this quantum physicist named David Bohm, who proved that we are all connected.
Yes.
It's not just 6 degrees of freedom. It's everybody is connected. Yeah. And so working with that, I love to do improv. So there is this exercise that we did called Connected, where it's a way of people getting to know each other. So I've played with that. And then as a Jew and studying to be a rabbi and then becoming a rabbi and studying other traditions, I was drawn to information around death.
Yes.
Part of it's my age. People started around me asking me questions about death, or did I know about the Death Cafe? And I fell in love with Candy Chang's outdoor exhibit called Before I Die, I Want to. And
Oh, that sounds so interesting.
yeah, it's this huge board. It became walls all over the world, where
Wow.
in all different languages people put that up and put a black, wood up, painted it blackboard paint, and then had this at the top, it says "Before I Die," and then had these little lines up and down the board that said "Before I die, I want to." And my
Oh, sorry. What were some of the things that they wrote? Was it more of like a bucket list or something from their soul? I want.
No, it was definitely a soul response.
Oh, good.
It wasn't a bucket list at all.
Mhm.
And some of them things were just, I want to be a pirate. I want to see my my grandchild grow
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
Things like that. It just really very moving. We did it here, and it was a movable wall, and we put it in different places, and it was really very exciting. So my interest in death and near-death experiences, and there's a big piece of the work that I do trying to notice my suffering,
Mhm.
helping other people with their suffering. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear and suffering in the world, especially around death. So how can we soften that to make it easier for people and make maybe not as excited about death as we are about birth?
Right. But less fearful. So many people are afraid to die.
Yes.
I feel like I was also, and then when I saw and went through with my son, our son, so much of it was beautiful. It was, and to know all these signs that he has sent, we're still so connected. And that has been such an amazing journey for me to see, is that I did not lose my son. Yes, physically I did, but emotionally we are still so connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
TZiPi, excuse me. There's a story that we're going to get to that concerns the Jewish tradition of Kaddish. Kaddish.
Yeah.
And before we get to that story, can you explain just a little bit what Kaddish is?
Sure. Kaddish. So Kaddish is kind of the abbreviation. It's usually used, when people say you're going to say Kaddish, they usually mean the mourner's Kaddish, which the Hebrew is Kaddish Yatom, which actually means the orphan's sanctification. But it's said after someone is buried in the Jewish tradition, the mourner's Kaddish is chanted. It is not in Hebrew, it is in Aramaic. Although it's written in Hebrew, it is actually Aramaic. It has different pronunciations than the Hebrew. So after Aramaic is used by many centuries ago. It's used by the common people, where Hebrew was used mostly in religion and government and upper class. So the mourner's Kaddish started around the 12th or 13th century that people started saying.
Okay.
So what you will see is that traditionally, after a body is buried, then the family begins saying the mourner's Kaddish. It is an extolling chant. It is all about the wonders of the divine. It never says the word God, or the four letters of the Hebrew God. It's not said. The one thing it says is the great name.
Oh.
Yiskadal v'yiskadash Shemei Rabbah. Yiskadal, how great and how holy is the great name. That's how the prayer begins. So the families say that after the body's been buried, and they say it for a week, and then they say it for 30 days, and then for a year. And at the end of a year, they have what's called an unveiling, and said, and then there's on the anniversary of the death, not of the birth of the person, but the anniversary of the death, you will go to a synagogue or a group of people, and you will say the Kaddish every year on the anniversary of the death. Now, traditionally, the prayer is said in a minyan, and minyan traditionally means 10 men.
Okay.
And we have evolved to say 10 people. And so that's the Mourner's Kaddish. And it's people who don't read Hebrew have heard this prayer so many times that they say it by rote. It's a very old prayer, very old ancient prayer chanted.
And I would love for you to tell the story about what happened when you were in Poland in 2007. That has I have been thinking about that a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. So in 2007, my grandson Ashby and I were part of a group of teenagers and adults from Greensboro, North Carolina, who traveled to Poland. We started in Warsaw, and it's part of an international organization called the March of the Living.
Okay.
So teenagers and adults came from all over the world to travel to Poland for a week and then to Israel for a week. We visit a lot of the camps, a lot of the places where the Jews and other people were killed.
Yeah.
And it's a very moving week. And at the end of the week, they asked us, what will you do to remember your visit to Poland?
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered on the first day we had landed in Warsaw, and we had gone to where the Warsaw Ghetto was. It doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Then we traveled to a huge Jewish cemetery. Some of it was very well kept, and then there were parts of it that were the monuments were turned over on their side. There were leaves everywhere covering things. It was obvious that no one had paid much attention to it for a very long time. And that really moved me, because that meant those people who were buried there, plus all the other ones that were buried in holes that they dug,
Right.
and that were killed and thrown into, had no one, and many families died together. So
Yeah.
it became important. So for the next couple of years, every time I was in a service, I would stand and say the Mourner's Kaddish for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for.
Yeah, that is beautiful. It is beautiful. But then there's more to the story, Sippy.
Yeah, because in 2009, mother was tragically killed in a automobile accident. And I began saying the Kaddish, the Mourner's Kaddish, in my community where I lived.
Yes.
And then about maybe 10 days later, I was still saying the Kaddish every day. I was traveling for work, and it was 5:30 when I usually would say the blessings, the Kaddish, and I decided, much against tradition, which says you don't say it alone.
Right.
I began
minimum of 10 people.
Yeah, 10 people, right. So it's important. So what happens, Chris, is when you're in a service and it becomes time to say the Mourner's Kaddish, if you are in mourning or it's the anniversary of the death of somebody dear to you, you would stand. Not everybody stands.
Okay.
And so you get this attention. People will respond. So you'll come to a particular piece and people will say, Amen.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll go on and people will say, Amen. So you hear the congregation supporting you as you're standing as a mourner in the congregation. It's very, very moving. Nowadays, many congregations will all stand. People, if it, the leader will usually say, if it is your tradition to stand for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, please do.
Oh, good.
In body or spirit. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So there it was in this hotel room by myself, saying the Kaddish, hearing my rabbi saying, TZiPi, you need to be saying it with other people. And I said, not now, not today.
Mhm.
I have to say this. So I began the Mourner's Kaddish, and I had a sense that the room was filling up with spirits. I never had anything like this before. And the people that were showing up were dressed in the clothing of like the 30s and 40s.
So it started with you feeling it, but then you could see it. You
Yeah.
could see it. You can visualize this. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I actually saw that.
Wow.
And not until after I told the story the first time was I aware that all these people, all these spirits that I had been saying the Mourner's Kaddish for
Yeah.
were my minion.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
were,
yes.
they were my minion.
Mhm.
They were there for me as I mourned my mother's death.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was, yeah.
So I guess, TZiPi, that those were the people that you were saying Kaddish for all along, that were showing up to be there for you. Is that right?
Yeah. And
And,
I didn't, Gene, I didn't know any of these people. I
right.
mean, I might have seen a name on a like on a monument,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
no, I didn't. It's, and the more you learn about the Holocaust, the more you learn, yes, 6 million Jews were killed, but
Right.
gays that were murdered, there were Catholics, there were Black people, people of color were murdered, gypsies.
Mhm.
So when I stand, traditionally, you stand for other Jews.
Okay.
And I was standing for anyone
Anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
who had no one to remember them, because we all need to be remembered.
Yes, it's so important to be remembered and to remember. I want to know, because it's your very first time that this had happened. How did you feel during that? Were you scared when you saw the vision, when you saw the people, or the feeling? Were you nervous, or were you totally just
Was it comforting?
accepting? Was it comforting to you?
It was very comforting. It
Oh,
was very
good.
comforting. Yeah, and very soothing. And I wasn't frightened at all.
Oh,
It was
good.
it was like my friends were showing up for me.
Oh, I love that. I
Mm.
love that. But also, were you afraid to tell people what had happened? Because, there are some people who would be like, Sippy, think you need to relax a little
Right,
bit.
And
right.
we can relate to that because
Totally.
we
Yes.
get we get the same kind of reaction to some of the things we put out on the channel.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I've had a little practice with hearing voices. So in 1995, in 1995, at the end of a meditation, I heard you're going for a trip around the world. And I laughed and I said, when?
I'll pack my bags.
Right. And the voice said September of 96. And at first I thought, no, this is not about me. This is about my daughter. And that, excuse me, then I said, oh, but I loved Around the World in 80 Days. So, and I did do it. I left.
Did you? Okay.
At the end of August, and I traveled for a year.
Wow.
And during, I think maybe when I came back, I started asking people, do you hear voices? And people would say, yes.
Good. Because sometimes they just need one person to talk about it. And then
Yes.
they can say, yes, that has happened to me. And I just feel, again, you're a connector to it. You're a connector. And it's a whole realm up there that I'm just fascinated by. And I'm grateful to see it,
Yeah.
and I want to know, how did this experience in moving forward, how did it change you in your daily living? Or you're not afraid to die, I know that. But like in your daily living, how had this experience change you?
Well, in a lot of different ways, but very, very slowly. I'm a very slow learner to thinking that this might be significant. I'm much more, okay, let's see what's going to happen next. Let's go see. But I have to say that I was scheduled, my grandson was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And I did something that surprised me. So this was just a couple of years ago. He's getting married and I didn't want to go. I love this kid, this young man. This young man is very dear to me. And I didn't want to go because I'm a single woman. His other grandparent, has remarried and has a whole family, and I'm not a part of that. And I just didn't really want to go. And then I said that to a friend and they said, you have to go.
Yes.
Yes. So I said, okay, I'll go. I invited my mother to come with me.
Oh.
And I don't think I would have done that if all these other experiences hadn't happened. It wasn't anything that I thought, oh, all these other experiences happening, maybe I'll invite my mother. It wasn't like that at all.
Right.
I said, I'm going to invite my mom. She loved Drew. She loves Drew. So I invited her. I knew she was there. As we walked across the parking lot, I felt her presence. We had a great time at the wedding, but one thing happened, and that's like Scott showing up.
Yes.
My mother showed up.
Good.
I was put down. I was set in a chair, a specific chair. Everybody was given a chair at the wedding, and this chair was mine. And when I put my pocketbook down under the chair, there was a penny.
Oh, yes.
So
heaven.
Yeah, and I gave the penny to Drew because it was her showing up, letting him know that she was there.
Exactly.
And he was happy. He was happy. So it does influence me. I'm much more relaxed about talking about death, putting it on Facebook and saying, do you want to talk about death? Today at the gym, I'm working with a physical therapist, and he starts talking to me about his mother who has Alzheimer's and dementia, and they're ready to let her go. And so we got into this huge conversation about how he can help her.
Right.
Transition. And I think that because I don't fear death, I think I'm more comfortable and more courageous to talk about things that make no sense. They don't make any sense.
They make sense to you. That's all that matters sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know that it's real. I know that it's real. So you can't deny my reality.
That's right.
And so that's, yeah, so that's.
I love that. I love that. Shifting gears a little bit, we had talked about the Society of the Vav, and I would
Yes.
like people to know about that.
Okay, so that's another one of hearing a voice.
Mm-hmm.
I was in meditation and I heard the Society of the Vav, and I had no idea what it was. I asked my teachers, nobody knew what it was. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist except in this mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to discern and to make it helpful to people. And what it is for me at this point in the evolution, it's all about connection. The Hebrew letter Vav is this, so the society, a group, right?
Right.
A group of something, of the Vav is a Hebrew letter. It's the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It rhymes with love.
Mm-hmm.
And every Hebrew letter has energy intelligence. And so the Vav is all about connection
Right.
and transformation. Because whenever you put something together, things change. It can't be the same.
Right.
Like you were one person, Chris, and Jean was other. When you came together, you evolved, because you can maintain who you are, and then there's this other piece. So that's what the Vav is all about. So it's, for me, it connected me to improv, because the Hebrew letter Vav, when you put it in front of words, it means and.
And that's what I loved. I remember we had a conversation and it would be like, okay, my son died and he's still with me. Instead of, well, my son died, but he's not here. It's just a different way of looking at it. And I really like that. It just gives me comfort, so I'm sure it's going to give other people comfort also, to just realize that it's and is a connector.
Exactly. And what's interesting, that I don't think we talked about this, that I think many centuries ago, I don't remember, in England, the word et, I guess it was France, so et
Mm-hmm.
means and in French. Well, the et became an ampersand.
Yeah.
That what do they call that? That's a symbol, the ampersand. The ampersand was the last letter of the English alphabet.
Wow.
Okay.
So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z,
Ampersand.
and so that they're leaving us this dot,
Right.
just like you said, and what's next? When a friend of mine's husband was dying, I would send her things about yes, and
yeah.
it helped her, because in that process, there's so many times you are just feeling stuck. You don't feel movement. You don't feel a shift. It's the pause is breathless.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
And so the and allows you to take a nice, slow, deep breath and to move on. It's very improvisational. When I put and into Google, trying to understand what all of this was for me, it immediately came up with improv. So improv says, yes,
Mm-hmm.
this is true. This is true. This happened. And what are you going to do about it?
And what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
Okay. I know. It's true.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, TZiPi. We are getting to the end of our time, but we could probably talk for hours on these topics.
I feel a sequel coming on.
I think there may be a sequel somewhere down the line.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for giving me these questions and things to think about. And I'm sure that I am more highly evolved after this.
And we are too.
And we
Thank
are
you.
different. And for knowing you, TZiPi, you have been a big addition to our lives. And I can't tell you how much you mean to us.
Yeah.
Well, your book and my sharing your book and your story has meant a lot to me.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I mean, you know, it's helped a lot of people, and it's a segue into talking about things that are very difficult.
That's right.
Right.
And
That's right.
and you, by you telling your whole story, you're a perfect example of yes and.
Yes,
Yes,
and.
and.
Yes, and it's not all about Scott. It's
That's
about
right.
your marriage and your relationships
Yes.
to each other.
Thank
and
you so much, TZiPi.
Yes.
Well, we are at the point where we have to say goodbye. TZiPi, will you help us sign off? Do you remember how we do it?
Love never
Never
dies.
die.
Remember.
Remember, love never dies.
Love never dies.
Thank you, TZiPi.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
very
it.
We'll
Okay.
talk to you soon, okay?
That was a lot of fun chatting with TZiPi.
It really was, and it always amazes me how spirits find a way to show up for us and offer comfort at exactly the right time.
For instance, when TZiPi was in Poland, she took it upon herself to pray for the forgotten souls who perished in a Polish ghetto during the Holocaust.
And then in her time of mourning after her mother's death, those same souls showed up to comfort her. It's incredible.
That is a perfect story for Hope from Grief.
Thank you, TZiPi, for joining us.
You know, since this whole episode was a result of a book signing, tell everyone where they can get our book.
That's right. Live, Laugh, Fly is available on Amazon, and 100% of proceeds will help benefit children's cancer programs.
You know, if you have a comment about this episode or anything we do here on the channel, we would love to hear from you. And you can get in touch with us in a number of ways. First, leave a message in the comment section below.
Or you can get in touch with us through our Facebook page. We're an open book.
Lastly, you can email us at rememberloveneverdies@gmail.com. And I'll put that information in the show notes.
And a quick reminder, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. We're trying to reach as many people as possible. And also, please tell your friends.
Because we want to let everyone know they are not alone and that they can find some hope and comfort even in their grief.
That's right. And that's it for today.
But one last thing, remember,
Love never dies.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.